great time for planting indoors. Today, I'm going to be starting a variety of native plants from seeds. Native plants are naturally occurring plants that have great environmental benefits. They provide habitat and food sources for a variety of wildlife, including pollinator animals like bees, butterflies, and birds. The types of plants I'm going to be starting today are blue vervain, pearly everlasting, New England aster, evening primrose, wild bergamot, and swamp milkweed. They all have beautiful flowers with a variety of colors, and pollinators love them. The swamp milkweed is also an important plant, as monarch butterflies need milkweed to lay their eggs on. Whether you're growing native plants or vegetables, starting them from seeds can be very fun and rewarding. The seed starting system that I have includes these mini pots, tray, and bottom bin. You can start seeds in a variety of different containers, whatever you have on hand at home or that's easy to get at a grocery store. Small plastic cups, tinfoil pans, toilet paper rolls. You can even make your own mini pots with newspaper. Start with a small piece of newspaper. You can fold it in half to create a bit of thickness. Then you can take a can or other small container and use it as a guide for wrapping the newspaper around. You want to leave a little bit of space at the bottom where you can actually fold the newspaper in. You want to be able to roll the newspaper around your container or can about 1.5 times. You can fold the bottom pieces in and place a small piece of tape on it until you get soil to weight it down a little bit. Pop the can out and then tuck the top part of the pot in, just to give a little bit of extra strength and stability to the top of the pot. This one's all ready for soil and seeds. Whatever materials you are using for starting seeds, there are some basic steps for setup that I'm going to be sharing with you today. First, I'm going to fill the mini pots with soil. I have 48 mini pots I'm going to be filling. I'm using a potting mix that's good for all different types of plants, but you can use whatever variety of soil is available to you. The important part of filling the pot is when you want to have enough soil that allows for maximum root space within the pot, but not squishing or compacting the soil so tightly that it's hard for the tiny sprouting plant to establish or get its roots into the soil. The technique I use is to fill the pot right up to the top loosely with soil. Then I use the back of my spoon to gently compact or push the soil down just a little bit. If you leave the soil piled in the pot too loosely, when you add water, then the soil sinks in the pot and you won't have a good amount of soil for this plant to create a good root system. I'm going to go ahead and fill the rest of these pots. Now that all the pots are filled and into the tray, I'm going to place them into the bottom bin. And then I'm going to add some water. By doing this, it will allow the water to be absorbed from the very bottom of the pot all the way to the top of the pot, and the soil will be damp equally throughout the entire pot. This is important to create the best conditions to maximize the germination of the seeds. It takes about a half hour or so for this to happen. You can check the progress just by simply tapping the surface of the soil and feeling if it's damp or not. As soon as all of the pots have soil that is damp to the touch, then you are ready to move on to adding your seeds. The type of seeds that I'm going to be adding to my pots today are the ones that need to germinate on the surface of the soil. Some seeds need to be buried and covered up by the soil. Follow the directions on the seed packet for how to plant them. Or you can do a little more research on the internet for how best to plant the types of seeds that you have. The way the seeds that I have are packaged include the seeds along with a material called perlite. This material looks like small grains of white pellets or sand and are designed to keep the seeds damp until you're ready to plant them. Most seeds that you find in the store are dry and often will need to be soaked in water for a period of time. All instructions on how to best grow those seeds will be listed on the seed packet. To plant my seeds, I'm going to pick around the perlite, which I don't want to plant, and add seeds of the 6 different varieties of plants to these pots. Some of the seeds of these native wildflowers are extremely small. For example, the wild bergamot, that is one individual seed on the end of my finger. So what I like to do is open up the package, dump the entire thing on the plate. Then I start working to break the seeds away from the perlite. Once I have a few seeds in my fingers, I start putting them onto the palm of my hand. I use a technique, I kind of roll the perlite away from the seeds and then gently touch the seeds down into my palm. Once I've got a cluster of seeds, 10, 12 to 15 seeds, I bring them all together and I kind of get them grouped on the end of my finger as best as I can. Then I'll take that little cluster and I'll touch it down onto the soil. Because the soil is wet and your finger is dry, the seeds will gently release. Do that again. And I will create 2 or 3 different little patches, clusters of these seeds on the soil. Now that I've added seeds to all the pots, I'm going to cover the pots with plastic wrap. You could also use a clear plastic dome from a tin foil pan, or any other type of clear plastic covering that fits nicely over the top of the pots. By covering the pots, you are creating a little mini greenhouse that will help to hold in a bit of heat and will help keep the seeds and soil damp. This helps to give the seeds the best chance of sprouting. The other really important thing is light. With the shelving unit that I have for starting my seeds, there are lights built in that are designed to act like the sun. These lights are also on a timer and will be on for about 16 hours each day. This is more than the amount of light that we are getting naturally right now, but helps for sprouting and gets the tiding seedlings growing a bit quicker. You don't need a setup like I have. Putting your seed starting garden near a sunny window will work, or you can even add a small desk lamp or a similar light source as part of your indoor garden to boost the amount of light your seeds and tiny plants will get. Once you have your garden to this point, there really isn't a lot of care involved. Check them every couple of days to be sure that there's enough water in the bottom of the bin, but not too much water that the soil is very wet. The seeds that I have take about 10 days to germinate or sprout. Sometimes it's hard to see as the tiny little stems can almost look like threads. If you have a magnifying glass, that will help you to see the seeds a bit better and if they've started to sprout. Thanks for your interest in growing plants. Continue to follow my garden adventures, where I'll be posting photos and other information about how my plants are doing. I'll also be posting fun plant-themed kids activities that you can do at home, whether you're growing your own garden or following my garden. Thanks so much and happy gardening.